allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Okay, we'll start off. First item we'll look at is the approval of the agenda. Is there any additions, corrections, deletions?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, we'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item of business is the approval of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review those?
I thought they read well. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, we'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. With that, we'll go down to the first item on the agenda today is the Rolling Hills Community Service Region Fiscal 19 Budget and Update with Don Menser. Good morning, Don.
Good morning, Dawn.
Good morning, Don.
Okay. It's been a year since I've been out to see you all, so I could talk and talk and talk, but to spare you all the details, I'm sure Neil keeps you informed of what's been happening at the regional level. I've got copies for everybody here, including you, Courtney. Just wanted to highlight some of the bigger things that have happened within our region over the past year. Grab my glasses here. Last legislative session, if you can recall, Senate File 504 was passed, which is the Mental Health and Disability Services Funding Bill. And one very good thing that it did is that it equalized levies across the counties within a region. And so for our region, we had varying levies from 3267 all the way up to 4728. So 3 of our counties, including Carroll, could have levied up to 4728, and we were at the Buena Vista was our lowest at 3267, which is our current per capita for this year, because it's been very important to the governance board to make sure that all counties are contributing an equal amount towards the regional services. So now our current per capita, it's 4279 across the region, and we are going to be able to eventually get up to that point if we need to. So it did help out the lower counties that they have the ability to come up a little bit to assist with costs that the region incurs. So on the flip side of that good news is the bad news, that this Senate File 504 required all of the regions and the counties within a region to spend our fund balances down to 25% if the population is below 100,000 within that region, and the counties that are above the 100,000 needed to reduce their fund balances down to 20%. So unfortunately, the counties the regions that are above that 100,000, when they get to this point in 2020 below the 20%, they are not going to have enough funds in their reserve to be able to pay their first quarter bills. So I don't know what the reasoning was behind the 20% threshold, but it's really going to put the larger regions in a bind. We are going to be addressing that with legislators. We tried to schedule a forum with our legislators last month, and unfortunately, we had 4 or 5 of our legislators confirmed, and with some family things that came up and funerals, we had 3 canceled, so we were down to just a few that could attend. So we chose not to have the forum to save everybody's time. And as a result of that, the board had asked that I put some type of a position paper to share with our legislators, which I sent out to the board, and they approved it last week, so that I can get something in the hands of our legislators before session to let them know our concerns with this 20 and 25% fund balance. The other thing that it does is that we're required to develop a community service plan, and those were all due to the Department of Human Services by October 16th of last year. And it took a great deal of time. I had to stop having our advisory board meetings from April going forward, and our regional coalition was not able to meet because we had to focus our efforts on developing this community service plan. We invited all stakeholders within the region to several meetings to identify our priorities for our region as to how we were going to invest our dollars in services while spending down our fund balance. So our hope is that the initiatives that we have identified as our priorities, we're going to have enough in reserve or have the ability to levy enough to be able to sustain the services that we're investing in by the time we get to 2020, when we have to be at that 25% level. So the main objectives, there were several smaller initiatives within our 504 plan, but I thought the main ones that you need to be aware of are that we have contracted with integrated telehealth partners, and they're a company based out of Des Moines, and they are going to be implementing telepsychiatry services within all of the emergency departments except for St. Anthony's. St. Anthony's did not feel that they had a need because of their on-site psychiatry staff, that they just really didn't feel that it would be utilized, so then they opted not to implement it. We are also going to be providing telepsychiatry within our county jails, and they are in the process right now of rolling that out and meeting with the jails and magistrates to make sure that they're aware that individuals who present at the emergency room can be properly screened by a psychiatrist or an ARMP. And we're hoping that with that pre-screening right there at the ER, we can avoid some of the commitments that we have had since the region started, and all of the services that we've invested in with our crisis home and our transition home. Our commitments have gone up. Honestly, we really thought that this would be a good alternative to the commitment process and having our deputies drive people all over the state for inpatient placement, and that has not been the case. So there definitely needs to be more awareness of the alternative services that we have. And, in terms of Turning Point and setting up pre-screening, I'm hoping that investing in ITP is going to make an effect on that. The contract with ITP is $375 per occurrence. So if someone presents to the emergency room and they access the ITP service, it's pretty neat because it's very quick. They have a psychiatrist that evaluates that individual. The goal is within 2 hours. Usually it's quicker than that. And then a lot of the placements are completed within 4 hours versus the 18 and 24 hours that you're seeing in some of the EDs now. The staff at ITP, they do all of the hospital bed calling, so it takes the burden off of hospital staff to have to do that. So we're really eager to get this rolled out, and I'm hoping again that we see some positive results. The other thing that we had looked at, we did not budget for this, but at some point we may need to explore the need for another transition home. Our transition home in Vail, which is Stepping Stones, it has been highly utilized, I think more so than anybody ever anticipated. They have been at full capacity pretty much since they opened. If they have 3 openings, they're filling them right back up because they've always had a waiting list, and they've done an awesome job with our transition home. They're really working towards getting people back out in the community of their choice and helping them find jobs, linking them with financial resources to be able to sustain themselves. So we've been really pleased with Wesco's work on that. And because of them being at full capacity, at some point we may need to look at another transition home, but that's depending on funding availability, and obviously with having to get down to 25% within 2 years, that may not happen. The other thing that we did, we recently contracted with County Social Services Region to implement what's called iStart services within our 7 counties, and it is a behavior support specialist service that a person is actually going to be located in a county office within our region, even though they're going to be an employee of County Social Services, and that individual will be basically on call for all providers to access if there's an individual who's in crisis, or if they're having behavioral issues, aggression, elopement from facility, whatever the problem is that could put their placement at risk. That individual can be called in to assess the individual and work with all systems surrounding that individual to make sure that there is a comprehensive plan in place so that that person's placement is not disrupted. And the whole intent, and I need to kind of back up a little bit, because the whole intent of Senate File 504, outside of the funding that it allowed us to equalize, was to meet the needs of those with complex conditions. So we had to really focus our plan on what services can we implement within Rolling Hills that will keep the people with complex needs in the community and not continually showing up at the emergency room or at the jails and keeping them stable and secure. So the last thing here that I'll talk about is this chart that shows you how we're planning to spend our fund balance down. I'm projecting to end this fiscal year with a 92% fund balance. The reason that our fund balance is so high is because that first year, if you recall, for those of you that were around when this all took effect, the counties that were not at that 4728, there were equalization payments for that first year to bring all counties up. So that was our first year contribution, was the full 4728. We've never been at that amount since then. So that's the reason our balance is the way it is. But I'm projecting by July of 2020 to be down to 23%, and we're doing that by reducing levies and spending our reserve balance down this next couple of years in order to achieve that. Hopefully, something legislatively happens that will remove that restriction to the fund balance so that we don't have to invest our dollars so quickly and we have longer sustainability. Questions about that? Comments?
Where's the spot we need to be, 25%?
Right,
We need to be there, you think?
25%.
Today,
And the way I've
the way it is
budgeted
set
for
up.
all of the counties as well is to get you to the 25%. It's really not an issue on the county levels because the counties have been spending their reserve balances down since the region started. So I don't think it's gonna make much of an effect on the counties. It's the region that's going to be affected.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that has not been one of the high priorities of ISAC to have us change the 20 and 25% balance thing. It's not what we got on Friday. It wasn't one of the high priorities. But I think it's common sense enough that it doesn't have to be. It probably will be taken care of anyhow. And sustainability has been a big thing with our board to be able to sustain what we start. And it's hard to start up a bunch of stuff and sustain it all at the same time.
Well,
It's also hard to start
Why
it
they got
cold.
that set up. I mean, they want you to do these more programs, and down the road, you ain't gonna be able to afford them.
If you can kind of read between the lines, I really think that this is headed towards the state system. Or it's,
Been that way since day one.
it's either headed towards the state system, and I need to qualify what I'm stating here. This is purely my opinion, because this has never been stated by the department, but they always, the intention with Chuck Palmer when he was the director was larger regions, 200 to 700,000 population, and I think this is where we're headed, is probably a smaller number of regions across the state or a statewide system. So, and you know, by saying that, in addition to the regions having to develop a community service plan, the state had a work group and the state had to develop a plan as well. And they are going to report that plan to the legislature. There is also a interim study committee that's going to be meeting this fall to look at the financial stability of regions and make their report back to the legislature next year. So we are spending our dollars down while the ground is shifting as we speak.
What gets me is, the one that's, the only lonely region in the state is Polk County. And every year they keep adding more money out of the general budget to them people.
Right.
And they're the ones that they're in the mess we are.
Yeah, I don't think the legislature has any desire to continue giving one-time bailouts to any of the regions. And so that's where this compromise bill came in, but gotta live within your means. I mean, that's really what we have focused on. In looking at the statewide work group report, I have not read it in its entirety, but they are recommending access centers across the state, probably 6. And so there'll be regional access centers for mental health and disability services. So anybody in crisis would be sent to these access centers. I do believe the intention is for the regions to put startup funding into these access centers, and then you can see where this is headed. That's really my opinion, but.
You know, it's amazing this last weekend with the MCO's discussion there, they're not saving as much money as they thought. Imagine that.
They're losing money.
Mhm.
And so now they're cutting, and
Yeah.
everybody out here is feeling it. The providers as well as the people. Okay.
Question on what kind of What kind of population do you see in the jails right now of mental health individuals? Any kind of an idea?
Lots of anxiety, depression, and substance abuse, lot of dual diagnosis. Schizophrenia, but a lot of depression. I know that the gals that are doing our jail diversion, they talk about almost everybody that they are seeing has a dual diagnosis with substance abuse of some sort.
With this jail diversion, are you getting any money from the feds on that? Because
No.
they were they were wanting to pushing that program,
That Stepping
right?
Up initiative,
Yeah.
no.
Mhm. Yeah.
We are not getting any funding, and actually, it's not really costing us all that much to do it. We are doing this within the salaries we're paying to our staff, and there's no additional cost to us outside of, we've paid for medications on a couple of occasions for inmates, but no, we're hoping that with the telepsych services, that anybody that has a mental health condition can be screened quicker and can be prescribed medicines versus, struggling in the jail, and identifying them and linking them with the coordinator so that once they're released through our jail diversion program, they are referred for the services that they need so that they don't end up back in our jails.
This telepsychiatric program, is that like a Skype system? Are they looking at each other?
Yes, it's really, I got to see the demo of it when I was down in Des Moines last summer, and it's pretty impressive. They call, if an ED calls down to ITP, they take all of the information, the patient access specialist, I think is what they're called, and they take all the information, they put the information into the computer, and it goes into a queue, and there's 14 physicians across the United States that will come up and take that information, review it, call back to the patient access specialist and tell them the goal is within 2 hours that they're ready to see the patient. So the patient access specialist links the doctor with the patient and the doctor in the ED to make a recommendation for inpatient, or this person can be referred for outpatient services, they're not a threat to themselves. And then if it's determined the person needs inpatient, that patient access specialist has linkages with all the hospitals within the state, and they know really where they're going to be able to find beds depending on the nature of the person's condition, and they'll start with those hospitals first, and that's how they're getting their quick access. So their average time from call to bed placement is usually within 4 hours.
Are we still seeing issues with getting bed placements?
There's beds. There are
Really?
beds across the state. Yes, it's the selective process. That's the problem. There are hospitals that are very picky in terms of the people that they serve. In fact, we have one hospital, not within our region fortunately, that at one time was not taking patients if they were suicidal on their mental health unit.
They don't have the resources to take care of it? Or
I
don't
don't
know
know
which
if
to
there was
take
a
it?
threat. Yeah, I don't know what the issue was, but it was just mind-boggling to me to think that you're.
I don't have security on staff.
Yeah.
That would be my
None of
guess.
them do.
Yeah,
That's an
none of
issue.
them do, and
Mhm.
Well, they're not taking many patients then.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly. I think that's been rectified, but that was happening last year at some point.
Either the PD or sheriff's department spending time up there.
Yep. Unfortunately, yes, and they don't like it.
Well, the other issue with that is the transportation issue. I mean, you can ship them all the way across the state, and you got to pay for the time and the transportation to get them there.
So instead of putting the person in jail, where it's easier to watch for the sheriff's department, we're pushing them to the hospital, and then we have to send a deputy out there to help them watch them. So it costs us more money
You
that
know-
way than it would be if we put them in the jail site.
Yes, you're right. And actually, last week, we met in Sac City with the Sac County Sheriff, the hospital, and the clerk of courts, the magistrate, as well as the county attorney. And it was posed at the end of our meeting that the sheriff wants to be able to bring these patients, if they have to act as security at the hospital, wouldn't it be better for us to bring them back to our office and have them sit in an interview room awaiting placement if we know that they're going to be going to an inpatient setting? And it was agreed they were gonna do it that way. I don't know. If I had to go to a hospital, I don't know if I'd wanna be taken to the jail or the sheriff's office and sit in an interview room. I think that would make me a little more distressed than when I first got to the hospital.
I would think it would be.
But for the sheriff's department, it makes good
Yeah, it
sense. They
makes
can be
sense.
doing other things while they're waiting for that bed placement, so. It does, because if they're not monitored closely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, next thing we should talk about is Woodbury County's request to join Rolling Hills. I have been dealing with this since the end of September. First was notified by Dennis Bush, Cherokee County Supervisor, that he'd received a call from Jeremy Taylor with Woodbury County wanting to discuss the possibility of joining our region. We've had several meetings with Woodbury County, or I should say I have. They've only been to the board meetings the last two. I have had multiple phone calls, have had meetings with Jeremy Taylor and their budget director, Dennis Butler, and they are very interested in joining Rolling Hills. They are very impressed with the management by the board and how they provide very good governance, and they're very thorough in the way they make their decisions, and I think the main thing is they feel that that is lacking within their region. And in order for them to come into Rolling Hills, they would have to be able to provide their fair share of services next year. It would be very important to us, especially in light of Senate Bill 504, to not subsidize Woodbury County should they come in. And in order for them to do that, currently their levy is at $17.58, and they would be going to $32.54, I believe, or $32.24, in order to bring in their total cost of their services next year. That is after some one-time grant funds will be removed next year, as well as a possible cut to one of the services that they're paying for, that's a juvenile program. So that would be about $975,000 worth of cuts to bring them down to $3.3 million in terms of their expenses. I don't know how that's gonna fly if the board, I know that the two that I have been talking with are very much in favor, because they know that if they stay with Sioux Rivers, they're gonna go up to 28 anyway. And they're really pushing hard to make this happen. I think our board's pretty divided on it. It's my take on it. I think that you've got some that are very much in favor, some that are vehemently opposed, and you've got some of the board members right in the middle. And I don't know how this is gonna go, but I don't know if they will take a vote on the 24th of this month when we have our next meeting. If they vote at all, it would be to push it to, if they pass a resolution, the resolution will be taken to local boards. So this is why I'm mentioning this to you, and I know Neil keeps you informed, but it has to be passed by a majority vote of the local boards before it can be considered at the level of the governance board.
And Neil's filled us in on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would be the total size if Woodbury would come in?
198,000.
198, right at 2.
And their contribution is what? 100, zero.
Their population is 102,779, so they're more than us.
Yeah.
They were more than double the size
Yeah,
of our
double it.
region.
Correct.
Well, that's the other concern that comes to light too, is the other two counties that are there. Are they gonna come in and join our region after this and follow suit?
That's why I asked that question.
Yeah, if
in
so,
our
we
last
could be busy
regional
for a long
meeting.
time.
That's why I pointedly asked that question. I wanted to see their response.
Yeah.
I have heard rumblings, I don't know if there's any truth to this, that O'Brien and Sioux and Plymouth have had discussions. I don't know if O'Brien is dissatisfied, or
Oh.
if they're just looking at becoming a smaller region. I would be surprised if the department allows smaller
Allow that.
regions. And I would be surprised if they allow Sioux and Plymouth to stay on their own, even for a year, through transition. Ideally, if we had more time, I think it would be wise to delay a year taking Woodbury County. They need to be someplace by July 1st, but that does not create urgency on our part. If we could do this more calculated and have more time, I think it would be so much better for Rolling Hills versus just pushing this through by July 1st. The timing and all of this is very quick. There's a lot to be considered. There has been some of the providers within Woodbury County that are opposed to leaving Sioux Rivers. So we've heard a lot of that. We had a gentleman at the last board meeting that spoke out and had indicated that should we take Woodbury and it results in cuts to services and a loss of services to 500,000 people is what this gentleman quoted, that there will be repercussions. And he said, but that's not a threat. So I don't know. What do you wanna add, Neil?
I don't know, it's a complicated issue.
It
Oh,
is.
boy.
Woodbury County's leaning on us pretty hard, and they're meeting some resistance. Of course, if they don't decide to come up with the money to equalize things, it's a done deal. If they do, we have a decision to make.
Do you see in the future at any point in time where these types of decisions won't be ours to make?
You know, that remains to be seen, Dean. The current law does not allow for that. Our 2080s govern these decisions. So we still have that local control. And whether the new director has any desire to change that, I don't know.
I can see that possibly happening at some point in time.
Rich had the $1 million question. He asked Rocky, whatever his last name.
Rocky DeWitt?
Yeah, he's the Woodbury County Supervisors at the last meeting, asked him, he said, well, if we just suppose we let you join the region, and then Plymouth and Sioux follow suit, also want to join, would you be willing to have them join your region?
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Yeah, he
suppose.
said yes. He did say yes, but it wasn't a snap
Right.
yes. It was a
Because that's gonna happen, I think, if we let them join, I
very
think.
well could happen.
Yeah.
Huh?
They claim it's leadership.
They're not getting their fair share of this decisions, their fair share of the monies, their fair share of the agencies that are being constructed, are going outside of their county. They're not seeing them in their county. They're feeling like the third child.
Woodbury County is saying that?
You would think.
That's what
yeah.
I'm getting.
Really?
Yeah.
You'd think they'd have the most influence, but they
That's
actually
what I
have the
would think.
least.
The
Because
least.
you've got two rural counties versus urban. So that urban is always going to lose out.
And they were active and quicker on their feet and established these services inside their county, and Woodbury got shut out. And I think they're sour because of, that's my outside opinion of it.
They could get voted down too in our district.
Mhm.
Just be the wire.
Sure, it could have, it could still happen,
2-1.
even if they come in
Yeah,
with us.
they're
Yeah, but
doubling
they only
our
get one
size
vote.
and they still have one vote.
They only
Yeah.
get one vote.
So.
Yeah.
They've agreed to our 2080, which means they only have one
Right,
vote.
that's right.
Which means they're actually diluting their power.
Exactly.
As opposed to
Exactly.
one-third.
But I think they're willing to do it, just, I don't know.
Well, they must see the organization is there, and
I think that's kind
Well,
of a tribute
yeah.
to Don.
Yeah.
As a tribute to Don, their staff were well managed. They're always at the short end of the vote.
It'll be interesting.
Mhm. It has been.
It's gonna get
Sure
more.
has been. So,
Yeah,
stay
so-
tuned on that one.
certainly don't want to see the region getting any bigger, though, I mean, to the point of the other two counties.
CSS is almost too
Yeah.
big.
Sure changed the atmosphere, to lack of a better word.
Mhm.
Right now, we're kind of rural region. We have urban area join.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I think the thing that is concerning for me is that
Bigger is
we've,
always better.
our board functions so well together. They've got a very strong level of camaraderie. I mean, they just really respect each other. It's obvious. And the way they make decisions has been very thorough, and I don't want another county coming in upsetting the
Apple cart.
right. And the other thing is bringing in providers that are not on board. That's gonna be a challenge. I mean, we've got such a good system within Rolling Hills and our coalition. We've got multiple entities coming to the table and really working for common goals. And I just, it's a concern of mine as far as that continuing, if you're gonna have,
Well, there's been,
Some
I
strife.
don't think the history up there's always been the greatest as far as having the same mentality as other counties.
right.
They have different problems than we have.
Well, that's true.
And I can't fault them for that. I mean, they have different issues that we don't see.
Is Woodbury a 5?
Yes.
On the board?
Yes.
Jeremy Taylor, is he the tall young guy?
I think that's Matthew Ung with glasses.
That's Matthew.
Yeah.
Jeremy is isn't he a supervisor?
He's supervisor.
Is he?
Yes.
Dennis Butler is the finance director for Woodbury County. He
Oh,
was the
okay,
one that
okay.
was with Rocky
Okay.
in the last meeting. Okay. So just a quick budget update for Rolling Hills, and then I'll go into the county budget. We ended FY17 with fund balance of 5.5 million, and we're projecting to spend 3,439,362 this year, with projected ending fund balance of 3,165,816. And with this budget figure is not with Woodbury County, looking at just for Rolling Hills, current 7 counties, $3.6 million in expenditures. And I want to point out that we have reduced our supported employment block grant that we've been paying to the 4 agencies for this is year 3 now. We reduced that to a 75%. So with taking that amount of funding out of our budget, we were able to add our iStart program, plus our telepsych in the jails and the emergency departments, and we've only increased by 200,000, and both programs are about 400 in total. Projected ending balance for this, or next year is, we're gonna be down to the $2 million mark, which puts us to, percentage-wise, let's see here, that's not right compared to that one, it's close.
54?
Yeah, 54%. This is for Woodbury. Get it updated on that one. Yeah, the 2 million for 19 puts us at 58%. And per capita for next year, it has been approved by the board at $24 per capita. So regardless of Woodbury County, that's all you're going to be contributing next year is your 24. Because that expectation is that if they come in, they're gonna come in and pay their first year. So, for Carroll County, and I just wanted to send the spreadsheet around because this will help you possibly in setting your levy for next year to get closer to that 25%. I'll just go through the top chart to get to that percentage. Your ending balance for June 30, 2017 was $111,531. Your estimated expenditures for 2018 are $707,701. Your revenue, which is your advocate expense and Rosie Stott's salary and benefits, is $38,720. Your levy for this year was set at $746,607, so your projected ending balance for this year is $189,157. Next column is your expenditures, your total expenditures, including your advocate and your distribution to the fiscal agent of $490,488 is $529,339. And then your revenue would be your budget amount for the advocate and for Rosie of $38,851, and that's set on a 3% increase. I don't know what you've decided on salaries, if anything, at this point, but just to be on the safe side, I included 3%, and it could be adjusted if need be at a later date. So with that, your projected levy, I would recommend $450,000 to get your fund balance to end next year at $148,669, and your 25% of your expenditures for 2019 is $132,335. And then the little chart below that shows what your max levy could be. So you could be taxing $874,499, but you'll be at the $488, which is your $24 target contribution. Questions on that?
This takes a lot of money.
It does. But at least you have a reduction next year. But at some point, with our 20 and 25% balances, we're gonna spike right back up.
Yep.
And you're gonna have this little tax holiday for a while, but all the regions are gonna end up at their maximums. I'm thinking by probably 2022, 2023, we'll be at the 4279 if we keep spending at the level that we are.
So it'll be just like everything else, it's all gonna funnel down to the bottom. Counties will pay.
Yeah,
Well,
they
if
wouldn't
they
have
have their
changed.
wish like you think they're gonna do with the statewide system, I hope they come with the funding too.
Or can they
And that's
require
why-
counties to levy and advance it to the state?
Has to come from somewhere, Gene.
But you know what? They want it their
Right.
way, let them fund it too.
The little people still pay.
Yeah.
That's the way it works.
But you've got legislators that don't want the system funded on property taxes too, so.
Right.
But with the state budget the way it is, I don't know where it would come from. That's a huge amount for them to backfill. Anything else for me?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks, Don.
Thank
Thanks,
God.
Don.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah, exactly. Keep up the good
Thank
work.
you.
Keep me as a board member well informed. Her and her staff are well organized too.
I tried. I think it's really important to keep the board informed. They definitely, try to give them enough information that they can make good decisions and with the Woodbury County situation, it's been a little challenging because I've got a couple board members, well, one in particular, who thinks that I should make a recommendation to shut this down, and I don't feel it's my place. It's kind of with the day-to-day operations of, for example, we had an agency and their support employment funds that they ended last year with $15,000 in carryover, and I made a recommendation to the board that I don't believe that they should deviate from their grant funds and what they were purposed for. And a situation like that on the day-to-day, I will make the recommendations, but something like this, I really feel is board's decision. So, leave it in their hands. All right?
Okay.
Yep, all the decisions that are made, as political as some of them may be, it all comes down to individuals that we're taking care of,
Right.
you know?
It does, and, you know, the last 3 months have been really focused on the fiscal aspect of taking on another county, and I'm actually going out to tour a couple of the agencies in Woodbury because I feel like I don't have the ability to go out to any of the local boards and share why this benefits us. Outside of the geographic footprint, when we double our size at some point and, you know, looking long-term, maybe it benefits us, maybe it's not gonna be a benefit, I don't know. But I am going to tour some agencies in Woodbury County in a couple weeks just to kinda get a feel for the culture and what they could bring to our region.
Yeah, that could be pretty
Couple of
important.
questions. Rolling Mills, did you ever name a director yet, or CEO? Or not Rolling Mills,
Plains?
Plains Mental Health?
Yes, Kim Kelleher, the interim director. Yes,
Okay.
she was appointed director about a month ago.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's direct.
Yeah, and she'll do a great job.
And how's their building doing up at Sac City?
Crisis Center?
Crisis Center?
Oh, the crisis center, you know, they're struggling to get numbers. I think it's gotten a little bit better here in the last few months, but I think the board at one point last spring was questioning because the numbers have not been what we thought they would be, whether there's actually the need for our crisis home. And I really have been pushing on Melissa Dre, who's the crisis care coordinator and the director, to get some publicity out there and re-educate on a regular basis to make sure that the ER doctors and our magistrates know that this is available. And they've been more boots on the ground with that since this last, you know, they know that the board was questioning that, but for the people that they've served, they've made great strides and they've done really good things for folks. All right.
Perfect.
Thanks, Don.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Don.
Okay. The second item, are we gonna wait with that one until later on, for the fair board?
Yeah, that's probably gonna be closer to 10:30.
Okay, so we're down.
Corey, you with the Fair Board?
Oh, okay. Is there anyone here from the crisis center that you?
No, she's not here yet.
Okay.
So I told Kenny to come up, maybe we could sneak him in.
Should we just go down
Kenny.
the list?
Carroll.
Kenny,
Yep. pull him
or
up.
whichever one it is.
Okay, we'll just go jump down to number 5, the sheriff. Ken, do you wanna give your
Well,
quarterly
baseball,
report?
ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we'll go over the quarterly report first. Everybody has that in front of them. same as always, we took in $22,386.59 in revenues, and then distributed, I guess I don't have a total for the weapons permits. October was $1,450, November was $1,700, and December was $2,600. And not that it really matters to you guys, but the state has changed the way we do our permits now. People come in, they do their application, we do the background check, and then we enter that information into a state system, and it's sent in, and then the state sends them their permit. For some reason, the legislators wanted every permit in the state to look identical, so they're now in charge of issuing the permits. So we still do the legwork, and then they send them the permit. Any questions about any of that?
When did that start, Ken?
It was supposed to start July 1st, but things got delayed, and it just got implemented last week. So,
That you mentioned that, Ken, I just saw, there was on Channel 8 News last week, they were talking about the weapons permits, and there's a company out of Virginia that's supposedly doing the online weapons permits.
Yes.
But you have to go through, there's like 31 states, I think they said, that can go through there and get that online, but it basically is through a company in Virginia.
yep, Iowa's one of the states. We
Okay.
get quite a few of those. For some reason, it must pop up as one of the first ones that somebody goes to do an online class.
Mhm.
But the instructor is law enforcement certified, so we honor it.
Okay.
And secondly, I'll hand this around, we had a resignation due to
I think we got a
retirement.
copy.
I think we have got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Courtney, you're ahead of me.
Make a motion to approve his report
Okay.
first.
Okay.
So move.
Okay, second. You got a motion and a second to approve the quarterly report for the sheriff's department. Any other discussion?
Holy crap.
If not, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
What is that, 9?
The eighth is today.
And just gonna let you guys know, we did have a retirement from the communications center. Roger Ray, who lives in Early, Iowa.
You're right.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Has tendered his resignation, and we are in the process of interviewing prospective dispatchers right now. We did advertise for that, and I think we had 35+ applicants, which is wonderful.
That's
Really?
Because, we're gonna have a tough choice to make, which is better than an
Yeah,
easy
sure.
decision, I guess, so.
Very good.
And I don't know why that is, but,
We'll take it.
yeah,
How many individuals do you have down there doing that?
5.
Dispatching?
No.
5, okay.
Hang on a second. 6, sorry about that,
6.
6 full-time employees. And we also, the people that sit on the communications board, I believe that's Marty and Jean.
Yep.
Do you guys want me to go ahead and schedule something with the city manager and
Yeah, let's get
get a
that
date
ball
set
rolling.
up where we can meet and try to get the budget hammered out?
Have you heard any more discussions about?
None. We were supposed to have a meeting after the last time we met. We went over and talked to him over at City Hall, and then he was gonna get back a hold of us about some things he wanted to see, and that just never happened, so see how it goes at the meeting.
Annual picking deal.
It is,
Yeah.
it is. I don't assume there'll be any changes. Sure, a little bickering, but no changes. Is there a,
Two-year contract. You ever thought about going to a 2-year contract?
In the comm center?
Well, this is just, we do a budget.
It's
do
just
an
the annual
annual-
budget.
annual
It's just the budget.
Annual budget.
They fight every year.
Well, there's always a certain subject comes up all the
Yeah.
time.
Mhm.
is there a time that works better for either of you guys?
Just probably,
You know, we
particularly after
gotta
a
accommodate
Monday
the
meeting.
mayor and,
Should we do it like on a Monday afternoon?
okay,
Let's do that and then,
early afternoon?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we normally
okay.
have it like 1.
I think it's
Yeah.
usually best to catch the mayor over lunch hour.
Yeah, and you know what, if it does work during noon hour, that's fine with me.
that's fine,
too.
fine
Okay.
with me too. Yep.
I'll shoot for,
Yeah, being he's, yeah.
a Monday
Work into
noon.
the schedule.
So we're accommodating.
Yeah.
Ken, one question, have you, how's the jail assessment thing? Has got anything going on there, or?
Shive Hattery's been in contact with me just a little bit through some emails, just, they're working out some things on their end. And, they wanna know if we had blueprints for the existing building. I said we do, and they could have access to those. And they're eventually gonna make their way out here and go over everything with us. They wanted, I think, to meet first with the entire jail committee. And I said we didn't have a meeting scheduled, but we could certainly schedule one if that's what they wanna do. So that may be in the future, just so you two know, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
Nope.
Can we get a motion to acknowledge the
The
retirement?
I'll make a motion that we accept the retirement with regrets.
Got a motion, we need a second?
Second.
Okay, got a second. Any other discussion? If not, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks, Ken.
All right, you guys have a good day.
You too.
All right, Neil.
Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, see you guys.
Yep.
With that, we'll go back up to item number 4 is the IT P&Z quarter report. Carl?
Your turn in the barrel, Carl.
Thanks.
Morning, all.
Morning, Carl.
Well, I should have a copy of the quarterly report. We also have for you a printout of the building permits, or the report here for the last calendar year, and it's also got the previous year on it, for your information. 63 permits, ag exemptions combination for 2017. And see a total of, value-wise, and get back to that page, of almost $10 million. 9,864,075 for valuation, and of course I give you my annual caveat, with this is the value that they report, not necessarily the value that it is. So you can kind of see the spread of construction up about $3 million from the year before. Any questions on that at all? I also had
That's
down.
actually almost a third more than a year ago.
About 30%.
Yeah.
Where the non-farm dwellings really shot up, didn't it? More people are living in the country.
Marty might be onto something.
And this, of course, is outside of the 2-mile areas, so.
Hopefully.
Any of the development within 2 miles of Carroll or Budden is not on this.
Oh, within 2 mile is not on?
Not on here, no, because I don't get those applications. Those would be the cities.
But I noticed that construction costs must have dropped quite a bit on them non-farm dwellings. 5 last year for 1.775, and this year 6 for
Yeah.
1.3.
Yeah, well, it
Size.
report, depends on who's putting them up.
And what, not size.
Depends on what they write down on the application.
That's again part of it, so.
Be interesting to see what the actual assessed value is when that all
Versus-
gets set out.
yeah.
You
versus
probably
what's-
get it out from the assessor, because
Yeah.
she'd have the construction dates on them, so.
Be interesting
Would
to
be
see.
interesting to see.
Some people like to think if they put a low number down, that that's what they'll be assessed for. And then there's some people that put a high number down and, bragging a little bit, I guess, but it's interesting to see what comes in. Because we don't base any of the farm stuff on value. Okay, and then the rest of the zoning, for the year, we had 24 towers, 1 solar permit down there by Coon Rapids. 6 permits were within the fly zone or the protected zone in the airport, so those were reviewed. A couple of floodplain permits, four going out of business permits. 3 rural enterprise, so that's basically it's a dwelling with an additional side business. And
Is the tower permits all new towers, or is it remodeled towers?
there were, I think, 2, well, part of those were for those ones up, the wind towers up here that were reconstructed, but they were additional height, so they had to get a new permit. If you get something like a cell phone tower or something that's replacing equipment but doesn't add height, we don't require them to get a permit. But there were some wind towers that were remodeled this year. Any questions on zoning? GIS is fairly quiet, mainly because it didn't have time to do much, but we didn't have a lot in maps. Probably one of the biggest things then on IT was, see that first item there, fire eye and intrusion detection system. We did install, we've got 4 programs that we have available from the state, free of charge to us, that help us to monitor malware, odd traffic, things like that. And the intrusion detection was the latest one, and we were probably one of the first counties to take advantage of that. We got a call a few weeks ago from the state operations center, and they man that from like 7 to 6, I believe, daily. They're trying to get to a point where they're manning that 24 hours. But we get a call and said that there's a bunch of malware being accessed on one of our, here's the IP address, and happened to be an access point over community services. And there's somebody nearby accessing our wireless through the open connection and going to the dark web. So I just go in and block that MAC address so it's not available. And in the afternoon, he called me back up again and said, there's another MAC address. And I said, yeah, I just saw it come up and blocked that. So we blocked complete open access over there. They were going in looking for Bitcoin and all that good stuff. So we'd encourage any county to make sure and take advantage of those programs, because there's no way we'd have been able to catch that activity. Now, it wasn't a threat to our system, but if anybody would have tried to backtrack that, it would have came to our outside IP address. And so all that traffic was flowing through us, but it never got in our network. But good programs to have, and as long as the state pays for them, we're definitely going to take advantage of them.
But the amazing fact is, there's a lot of counties don't take advantage of that program.
That's right.
Yeah, there was a map here
Yeah.
in the county magazine about all
And
the,
even one
that are
neighboring
not
county.
taking advantage of it.
Yeah, it's just something that, kind of a no-brainer thing, that you really need to take advantage of those programs in the state.
I commend you, Carl, for doing that, because we wouldn't have been aware of that, but through your organization, you did that.
Right.
I commend you for that.
Let's see. I think the only other thing I wanted to warn you about is that coming up in August, a couple of our storage devices will be at end of life. So we are talking with vendors on doing replacement and what our options are that way. So we'll have some money built into the budget when we get to that point to try and accommodate that. So they go end of life in August. So I'll have to be getting those things all put together. The other thing that's come up, and I sent everybody an email about the meltdown inspector, is what they're calling them, the Intel processor flaws. Microsoft did actually something I commend them for this time. A lot of times I'm not commending, but today I am there. They didn't go and push a fix out on everybody because if the antivirus doesn't recognize what's going on, it will blue screen the computer, it'll just crash. And so what they've done is create a registry key that if it is not there on your machine, Windows will not install the update for that processor error or flaw. And our antivirus company, Viper, is in the process of testing their reaction to that fix so that it doesn't blue screen it. So as soon as the different antivirus companies get their fix and update their software, then it will install a registry key in all the computers that it does that to, and then Microsoft will recognize that registry key and go ahead and do the update and fix to that security flaw. So we're still just kind of waiting on them. It's really an obscure type of threat. It isn't anything that our biggest threat is still the person in the chair, you know. So, but we try and keep all our patches up to date too.
Is this the one that you sent out on Friday, that CPU? that you called
Right.
it?
Yeah, just so you're aware of it, that you need to get your antivirus updated and then make sure your computers are all updated at home as well as here at the office. Those here at the office, we're all on automated unless they're the servers, and I monitor that every day as to whether there's updates available. So that's all I've got for you.
So is this the same update that you're talking about that I see in the bottom of my computer screen? You sent
That
a...
one for Windows 10?
Yeah, what's the deal on that?
We haven't had any issues. We had an issue with a couple of computers that didn't like that Windows 10 feature update.
Right.
But those were computers that were converted from Windows 7 to Windows 10. We haven't had an issue with anybody that has a...
10 to update 10.
Yeah, it came originally with Windows 10 on it. But it takes some time. So, you know, don't think you're gonna do that feature update and then get back on
Do
in
it
a couple of
overnight.
minutes. Yeah, do it overnight or just do it and walk away, you know, because it takes some time, depending on your machine.
We'll have coffee and send some, maybe lunch.
But I've had a couple of that we did upgrades from Windows 7 to 10, and it had a problem
Just in
doing the
case.
install, so it would roll it back to its original. Anything else?
Any other questions? Need
No.
a motion to approve the quarterly report for...
So move.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second to approve the quarterly report for Carl.
About ready for budgets?
Whenever you are.
Okay.
That's.
You get you two, right?
Yep, those two.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Carl.
Thank you.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor. Is there any other discussion? If not, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, with that, we'll go back to item number 3 is the Family Crisis Center Fiscal 19 Funding Report. Sherry?
Guys,
How you doing?
saw
Hi.
some of you in August, I think, wasn't it? It was great to have you guys down in Des Moines with me at it was your state meeting, is that what?
ISAC meeting, yes.
Yes.
Yep.
There's an annual report for you each. It was nice to have some faces in the crowd that I recognize, because it's always a tough thing when I tell my personal journey with the agency. Some new faces here this year, but it's been a long road for me. For your introduction, my name is Sherry Castine. I'm the CEO of the Family Crisis Center, and we provide, I think they got some up here. It's just the guys and the gals in the back. Thank you. We provide human trafficking, domestic violence, work down here. We provide all of the state with the call center for victims of domestic violence, sexual assault through the human trafficking, or excuse me, through the Attorney General's office. So our small program has gone statewide, but it was this summer when I was down in the ISAC meeting, I was invited by Denny Wright, who is on my board of directors, to talk about my personal story, and that would be the abduction of my 15-month-old little girl and what happened after that. And so that's what launched me into this work many, many years ago, and we continue to do the work. We've been in Carroll County since the Attorney General's office reorganized us back in about 5 years ago. So I've been coming here on an annual basis to work with you gentlemen to talk about what we do. Our services are free to all persons in Carroll County, and we're excited about that because when I had the staff run my reports for me for this meeting, just to see how we're doing in Carroll County, our call center that serves all 99 counties received 296 calls from Carroll County. So that's 296 calls. Our integrative advocacy program, which is actually, we have a victim advocate at the New Opportunities, doing different clinics and outreach programs with them. And so that they've been serving just recently up to 7 new people. And Tiffany's here with me today, and she's only been here about a month and a half, and so she's gotten 7 new individuals that are coming in through that. That's in addition to our other staff that are here working out of the little Presbyterian church here in town. So you have 2 staff members working in Carroll County, as it is one of our larger counties that we're providing services in. Last year, speaking of that, we had 70 victims of domestic violence that had sought services here. So that could be protection orders, that could be relocations. One of the staff gave me a story of that person, a person of that 70, and our victim advocate down here, her name is Tammy T, and she had been providing victim services in Carroll County for about the last 6 months. The woman who came for help was leaving an abusive relationship due to domestic violence that was occurring in her home. DHS was involved. Do you know if there's children in the home when there's domestic violence? They're considered children at risk. And that's where DHS comes in and talks with us, wants to partner. How can we fix this situation for the safety of those children? In this case, that we were able as an agency to help mom get the children moved to safety with working with Bethesda, different programmings. Not only was it the Family Crisis Center, but it was area community supporters here in town. They adopted the family. The mom and the children needed to leave in an emergency situation, and so they left with the clothes on their back. Individuals in this community got her, one church got her all of the furnishings she needed to reestablish in her home, as well as another church helped her get presents for the children for the Christmas holidays. So that's kind of what we've been doing in the community for the last few years, is really getting integrated to really be able to support families that are leaving in just a hurry like that. We see that way too often when things come up where they leave with the clothes on their back. And so building those community relationships is essential. What you've got when you have the Family Crisis Center in your community is actually the Attorney General's office largest program in the state, which means that we are the largest vested program in the state of Iowa, meaning that you have more comprehensive services in what I call my home counties, and Carroll being one of them, than anybody else in the state. So if you look at this map, in the purple map, that's our home counties that we do domestic violence work in. So those are our counties that we provide those 24-hour services free of charge. In addition to that, Carroll County is also covered by the call center that works, again, statewide. People wonder, how did a small program like Family Crisis Center get that? Well, I wrote a business plan. They started slowly giving us different numbers. And when I was down at ISAC, people were like, I didn't know that our county was getting these services, because at the end of the day, all of these programs throughout the entire state that aren't part of that purple area, they all roll their numbers to us at the end of the day. So we're taking calls from Iowa City all over. What happens with Carroll County is you're a home county, so we service you in multiple different facets. The other one is here is the homicide program, which you're also a part of. I started that homicide and other violent crimes program as a result of my daughter's abduction, to give people like me more insight to court proceedings. I would go to all my court proceedings with no help, no understanding. It seemed like Latin, which it is, a lot of the court proceedings. And so I wanted to have victim advocates specialized, working with specialized crime victims. And so that's what we've been able to do for Carroll County as well. And then the integrative advocacy program is what Tiffany's a part of. And you've got another special location in Carroll County because she's with Upper Des Moines. And so what these individuals are doing, there's only 3 of them in the state. It's a pilot program, are testing to be more mobile. How do we reach victims without them having to find us? We want to be in their locations so they're easily accessible, or we are easily accessible to them and their needs, whatever that may be. On this page, there is a picture of my daughter Melissa. I started this thrift store for, she doesn't work there, she's a caterer at Hy-Vee, but she works, so she let us use her name to talk about sexual abuse with children. So there's a little bio there. That little thrift store, believe it or not, is in its 10th year and brings about $195,000 in revenue into our agency. So it's been a good startup business for us as well. So today I wanted to talk to you about, thank you for those that were there at ISAC. Thank you for your years of support. Carroll County is rich in its services. Again, our services are free and confidential to all those seeking services from our agency. We would like to ask for ongoing support from the county. I believe it's $5,000 each year now. We'd like to challenge you to $7,500 with the new additional services if possible. I know it's a tight year, but there's a lot more services being taken place here in Carroll County. So if that's a possibility, we'd like you to maybe think about that a little bit for us. Do you have questions? I'm kind of rambling. I gave you lots of information, but I know you've got a schedule to keep and stuff. But is there questions that you gentlemen would have, or ideas, or what we could do for better in your communities? Anything that you would like to see in addition to what the Family Crisis Center is doing right now?
I just want to add one comment, just going through our ISAC meeting, when you gave that presentation, where there's a passion, things can be done.
Thank you. We're just getting started. That's one of the things. We did hire a COO now, and I'm starting new implementations of programming and stuff, and so that's why I chose Carroll to implement this new program with a pilot program. So, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. It was nice. I remember you were on the aisle, and I kept looking at you guys because I'm like, I know those guys. Okay, and I knew your names and stuff, but I thought, okay, I just got to focus on people I know because there's so many people I don't know in this audience. It was just hard. It's a hard testimony to get through all the time, so I appreciate that.
I will say this, if any of you did not hear her presentation, the next time it is available, I highly encourage you to listen to it.
Thank you.
Because you did a very good job, and it was, I don't think there was, to be honest, very many dry eyes when you got done.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was a very good program. And you do have a very strong advocate up in Sioux County, Denny Rice.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm happy if you guys have something within your churches, or, cause I'd be happy to come down and do my story and present that if you're in Kiwanis or Lions or anything like
I'm
that.
glad to see you're working on new opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm the president of the board there too also.
Really? Good, yeah. Well, you'll have to ask them about us. Tiffany, did you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Tiffany. I'm the new victim advocate out at New Opportunities. I will be there to serve everyone's needs. I'm extremely invested in making this partnership with FCC work. I want to get out in the community. I want to get a better establishment of who we are so that people know as soon as they're in a crisis, they think of FCC. And they know that there's not going to be a time in their life where they're going to struggle again, because we're here for your community. So.
Yes, I'd like to go around and just do introductions just for Tiffany's
Okay.
sake. Neil, you want to start out?
I'm Neil Bach.
Nice to meet you.
Gene Miners.
Marty Danzer.
Rich Ruggles?
Dean Shetler.
So,
Nice to meet you. Courtney Roback. Nice to meet you.
now you can put a name with a face.
All right, it's such a pleasure to be here today, so thank
Thank
you
you.
for letting me
Yeah,
attend.
Thank you.
And she's just taken off since the end of November with families and New Opportunities calling her on a Wednesday night at home. We got an emergency, how can you help us? And that's what we want that collaboration to look like, is that we're not here alone. we're not working in a vacuum. It takes all of us as a community, with the sheriff's office, the new opportunities service providers, to help people get to where they need to go and safely. So we're excited. So thank you for your friendship and your support, and if there anything I can do in the future, let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just looking at the call volume by county, what, can you just explain to me the disparity in the call? Like, say like Sioux County has 2,400 calls. Is that individuals from Sioux County? Or is that, how does that work?
It can be individuals from Sioux County. It also is because so many are rolling into us at that time. We have the homicide program, so all of these programs get counted. So it's not just victims of domestic violence that are coming into Sioux County. It would be the homicide victims. There's 130 some of them. All of our clients from the Family Crisis Center get rolled into there. And then some of them, and that's part of the reason that Denny wanted me to go to ISAC, is because some counties, just really don't even, know that we exist out there. And we're in one of our second year, where now we've gotten from the Attorney General's office $50,000 in pure marketing money just to get out to do marketing throughout the areas. So there is, like Ida County, 34, that's the address that the person may give. If they're calling Sioux County, and it'll go under, that's our home county. If they don't give a county, then it'll go under Sioux County too, if they don't want to be.
Oh, I see. So,
If they
yeah.
want to be anonymous.
Because that's where your call center's at.
You're right, right. Yep.
I mean, some of these, so do you feel that some of these numbers that are higher, like Lynn County, and, is it that they know about you, or, because some of these counties I think are very small, as far as their numbers are concerned. I'm trying to think of.
Yep. It would be, so the county, if you look at the cities that are higher, like let's just take Woodbury there's this.
Well, Woodbury compared to Lynn County, or Johnson County. I thought Johnson County was.
And Johnson is Iowa City.
Right.
And they're gonna those calls are either rolled over from their emergency program or individuals calling from the campus. So, like Woodbury does not roll over. Iowa City, very seldom, that's the rape prevention program, very seldom roll over. So these are individuals calling from the campus. So some will keep their lines there. So like in Iowa City, they'll have their own line. They're so busy, they don't opt to roll to us very frequently.
Okay, so I'm looking at Woodbury, or Blackhawk County. That's the one that I guess got my attention.
Mhm.
A large county like that with some socioeconomic issues.
Mhm. Yeah.
I would expect that to be a higher number.
Yep. Is there a program, I'm trying to think, in Blackhawk County, they could be going to their emergency shelter as well, and then we're only getting them in the evening. So they're keeping them all day.
That's cute.
Yeah, so we don't get them until evening time, so our highest call volumes is between 2 and 8, and so, yeah. And then the other thing when I wrote the business plan was if the program is, dealing with a homicide or dealing with different aspects, they can choose to roll over, so we can absorb that shock for them, and then they can take care of what they need to in-house, or if they have a staff meeting or whatever, then that comes to us. But these are they're gonna keep their business lines and all of their crisis lines during the day. On the weekends and stuff, we're gonna get those. So this isn't 24/7, 365 for each county. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, I mean, I guess that Blackhawk County was a big disparity to me that I thought.
Thank you for bringing that up, because you're my only second county. I'll mention that when I talk with the other counties.
So you're saying each county has their own parameters, whether they roll to you, when they
Right.
roll to you.
Right, exactly. Yep,
Okay.
yep, absolutely. Yep. Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sherry.
Thanks.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, with that, we'll go down to item number 7, is secondary roads. Dave?
Morning, Dave.
Morning, everybody.
Looking good today?
Oh, thanks.
Got that trimmer out, I can see it.
You're being judged, I guess.
Yeah.
Must've got a new shot.
Leg off. Oh.
Good shot, Jeff.
Childhood, maybe,
Oh, I totally forgot.
actually, I could email it. It's been a long time since we've talked about the snow ordinance, one of our oldest ordinance number 4, I think back from the 80s. And I don't want to belittle it or belabor it a lot, I should say. Maybe quickly go through and tell you what our policy is. The ordinance pretty well does it. And I'll email you a copy of this.
Okay.
I
Yeah, it'll work.
didn't get you a copy of it. I didn't want to read the darn thing because there'd be some sleeping going on pretty quick. Normally is anyway. There's several sections of it. Level of service is the first one. It says that it's for our local residents. Roads may have snow and ice on it. Imagine that. Conditions may be continuous or concentrated. County's gonna use their existing equipment to take care of what they've got. Work done's gonna be done within the budget. Extra traveled way may not be cleared. Snow may be placed on the ditches or the shoulders. All this is kind of common sense, this first part. Maybe piled in intersections, there might be poor visibilities, reduce lines of sight. County's not responsible for snow pushed back on the road by others. And motorists are encouraged to drive 25-mile-an-hour below the posted speed limit if there's 2 lanes available, and if there's only one, less than 25-mile-an-hour in actual speed. So that, I think, pass that around the actual written amount. The sequence of operation, as far as when we remove snow, the county engineer shall select and what equipment to use on that. First, we'll do the paved routes. We'll do them open to 1 lane, which, as you guys have all seen, it kind of comes 1 lane and then it's 2 lane. We really haven't had any bad snows, but if we do get a bad snow, I can't remember the last time we did have one, 2009 maybe?
It's been a long time since we've talked about a snow blower.
It is, yeah. We'll put one in the budget when we have a bad snow. And
Tell me what year that's gonna be.
we say with our paved routes, initially we'll open them up to 1 lane, and then we'll widen out during normal work hours. That really doesn't happen that way. That we start at 5 and we end at 5. Actually, we'll start maybe a little bit before 5, but we always try and end at 5. We don't go out at nights. It'd be a really odd situation when we do go out at nights, because we've only got the 1 crew to do it with, and we've got so many miles. We've got 1,000 miles of road to take snow off of, and 200 miles to where, for instance, the state has, I think, less than 60 miles now. And they offer quite a bit better service than what we do, and it's pretty well 24/7. There's times when we might call the maintainers off, or the snow plows if it's blowing real hard or whatever. Usually we do that. Al and I will talk about that, what we'll do with that. We might use the motor graders on the paved roads. In fact, this doesn't preclude that at all. They're really about the best snow moving machine that we've got, and they'll really do a good job scraping the snow off of it. We don't have a dry pavement policy, though I think over the years we're trying to work more towards that. We're spending more money on salt and sand. 30 years ago, we didn't even use salt, we just used sand that was treated with calcium chloride. And now we use both, and we could use as much as a couple thousand tons of salt in a year. We've got about $64 a ton wrapped up in our salt. Sand's a little over $9. We mix it, 2 buckets of sand and 1 bucket of salt. And we put out, we haven't gone strictly to salt like a few have, and we still use the abrasive. We're kind of old-fashioned that way.
When you're talking the dry, you're talking brine? Is that what you mean?
We don't really have brine.
But I mean, what are you talking when you say the dry pavement policy?
Dry pavement would be just to stay out, keep putting sand and salt down until you get it burned off.
Okay.
And which our roads don't have the traffic that the state roads do. The traffic helps a lot in burning and they just keep putting salt on, plowing, putting salt on, plowing, and eventually get it to, unless it's really cold. Salt's affecting this, goes down to about 17
Sometimes
degrees.
it's better not to salt and let's let the tire wear blow it off.
Yeah.
Because it's so cold, it busted up the blisters.
Says we may sand after plowing intersection, hills and curves, and we might not re-sand again. Really, this, our policy is kind of on the low end, and we try to exceed it a little bit, just because we think it's expected of us, and I think that probably is the case. On paved roads, 1 lane first, and that's kind of true on a road-by-road basis. Usually they try and get back and open up both sides of it so the roads don't blow in. They say we're gonna widen out normal work hours, and that's kind of true, but it's not really true. Plows are normally in operation from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. Again, we don't go out in the dark. We usually call the graders out later, somewhere around 6, somewhere closer to daylight, because there are a lot more hazards out on the gravel road, a lot easier to get caught going in the ditch. Getting down to probably the 2 areas where I have the most trouble, we don't clear private drives, and a lot of times private drives, the snow will get pushed out into the road. Sometimes it just gets kind of just pushed out and dumped right in the middle of the roads where it's a hazard. We say our policy is against that. We want them to take it, push it off into the ditch. Probably the thing I have the most trouble with is mailboxes. We usually get a mailbox or 2 every storm in our policy. Probably just better read it instead of.
Says,
Well, not.
it's clear in there.
It's clear in there, yeah. The county shall not replace or repair mailboxes, supporting structures, or any other private property placed in the public right-of-way which is destroyed or damaged during snow removal operations, nor be liable for personal injury. And so, but we got one here the last snowstorm, and it's generally a point of contention when we do get one, and they're never happy because they don't agree to pay for them. Our insurance company did pay $50 towards one of those $300 ones, but that took a lot of effort on that particular person's time. I remember back in the 70s, we wiped out 140 some of them. We had a bad year that, I can't remember, it was 74 or whatever. And I think that was maybe the beginning of this thought, though. This came out of the early 80s, I think. All 99 counties adopted that. Pretty well have the same thing with some minor modifications to it. I don't know, any questions? You didn't fall asleep, thanks.
Was there any changes you suggested, that you suggest for the snow?
Not really, no. I don't like this mailbox thing, because I don't like getting chewed out. But I don't know what to do.
Dave, in there, you talked about your emergency, and you make all attempts to do emergency. Do you
Yes.
have all your outlying areas, do you have people that can safely get to the building to provide those emergency services?
I wouldn't say in all outlying areas, but yeah, we'll do whatever it takes.
Does that factor in when you do employment for that area?
Yes, it does do it.
It's just a question.
When we hire, we try and hire a group from around the county, and we're probably getting back to what we were back in the old days. It almost used to be that you had to live in the area. We used to have 14 grader districts in the winter back in the 60s and 50s. And, the graders were quite a bit different then, had a lot less horsepower, but they had a lot more snow then, and a whole lot more.
Okay.
Anything else for Dave?
I got a couple other things I'd like
Okay.
to just quickly run by you.
Okay.
Equipment-wise, equipment budget, I have enough money left in the budget to purchase a pickup, which we talked about earlier. I got some bids on it, but one of them didn't get the email, one didn't respond, I think because they were too busy during the Christmas season. And two other responses that I got. And I'd like to buy a little higher end pickup than the work truck pickup, because for some reason or other, you can't get a good seat on just the work truck one. And you have to go into that next category to get a better seat, which is unfortunate, but it's gonna require spending more money. And I hope that's okay with you, but.
This would probably be for the road foreman?
This would be for the road foreman.
Yeah.
He puts on, he's got 202 or 3,000 on his 2012 pickup that he's got right now. And he puts on 40,000 a year. And for just a regular pickup, I'd say it'd be frivolous to get this, but for him, there's gonna be extra equipment on his.
It's not very many.
He's being facetious.
Try 80.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
So you plan on keeping the pickup though, that you have?
I think we'll keep the pickup, yeah. We got kind of an old fleet of pickups, and this one will be kind of an old one too, with a lot of miles on it, but.
It's a diesel.
It's a diesel. It's in really pretty decent shape. We thought about diesel in the past, but the price of diesel is going up, and so I'm gonna rebid these with a good seat on it, which should drive us into the next level, say from a work truck to a LT if it were a Chevy. And each one of them looks like they're the same way, but they're gonna cost a little more than what the state.
Probably about 10% more,
Yeah.
10 to 15.
Just pretty well hits it right on the.
Well, depends on what you get too. Sometimes you can get those with that package deal, that you can get a little better for.
More bang for the buck,
Yeah.
And last year's new model, you can pick those up for a little discount sometimes.
You looking at sticking with the diesel or?
I think we're gonna go with the gas.
We're gonna go back to gas?
Yeah. And the diesel seems to work out okay, but I think we'll go back to gas. With the money that we have remaining in our budget, in 1995, we bought a lowboy trailer to haul around we didn't have one then, we had a highboy, but to haul the excavator that we bought at that time. And our excavator was bought at the same time too. We're thinking about replacing it down the line, but we hauled a grader up to Fort Dodge and got picked up with our existing lowboy trailer. It's too short to haul the graders there.
Obviously it wasn't, it was on there.
The graders have gained a lot of weight. They went from the 30,000 pound range to 45,000 pound range, and they've gained a lot of horsepower. They were 150, and they're upwards of 300 now. And they've gained a couple, about that much length, and a little over 2 feet. But our lowboy trailer's not really set up for hauling them. It used to be we'd fix most of the stuff in-house, but it looks like the future is going to be hauling to the dealer, both that and the trucks. So we need another long bed. I think the gooseneck trailer we have is a Trail King. It's a good brand. It should bring some pretty good money. I'm thinking we can probably trade for less than 50, I'm hoping. And between that, the pickup, and I'd like to purchase another dump truck. I'd actually like to purchase 2, but don't have enough money in the budget to purchase 2. Got enough money to purchase 1. And I'd like to do some bids for that too.
On the dump truck, would you be trading one in?
I would, yes. Yeah. Number 23, older Mac that we have that hasn't been getting many miles on it, should hopefully bring a little bit of money. Not nearly what the new machine would cost. The last bid that we did.
Is that 23, has that got some issues?
it's,
I mean, at one time you talked like you were gonna try to maybe pull some of them out back for outline and shed.
yeah, it hasn't been, you got used 1,900 miles last year. And I think we could keep it back for the sheds, but it's not proving out that, where we had, and it's missing some stuff for the snow equipment to be a fully equipped truck, just because we robbed it, put some other things on it to keep it going. It's kind of a cannibalized truck, and, so if any would go, that probably would be the one.
Okay.
What number was that, 23?
23.
I mean, you had made that comment one time, that's why I was wondering.
Is that a situation where you give it away, or do you get does it actually have some value?
I think it's got some value, you know. Though it's, you know, it's a pretty old truck. I think it's an 89 or a 91. So it's got quite a few years on it. Got well over 500,000 miles on it.
Is it single or double axle?
It's a double axle, yeah.
You're
It's-
getting a double axle.
There were 3 double axles that we bought. We bought the first one in 89, and then we bought 2 of them in 91. This is one of the 2 that we bought in 91.
Do you have any single axle?
No. We've got 2 single axles, but we don't really use them.
Yeah.
We went up to pick up garbage in the road ditch with one just because we could flop the tailgate down. We didn't need other than carrying capacity, so it's pretty good for that. Both of those have got pretty bad frames. They've got the sandwich frame, and they've got that rust jacking going on, so they're not really selling.
They don't have much value.
No. Thinking the pickup is gonna be roughly 34,000. The dump truck chassis will be around 110. The plow, the wing, the sander, and the hydraulics will be around 52,000. The box, I don't know if you remember, sometime back we bought a new box. We wound up fixing the old box that we were gonna put it on that truck, so we've still got a new box in stock in the shed, so we don't need to buy that. So there'll be no cost for that. That was around 14,000, I think. Then I penciled in 60 for the lowboy trailer. I think our lowboy will have pretty good value. A new one, they're priced around 70 without the state discount. And I think this one should be around 20 hopefully. And hopefully we'll get some discount. Maybe bring the price down into the 40s. I don't know. So all that all sums up to 256,000. We've spent 321 out of 625, so we've got roughly 304,000 left, so we should have some money left after that. And at any rate, I guess what I'm asking for is to get some quotes on them.
Move forward with it.
Bring them to you and see what you say.
Motion to that effect, or you just want a consensus?
If consensus would be good, and individual motions, once we get to that point.
Don't cost anything for quotes.
Right.
Don't cost anything for quotes.
No,
No. I have no problem with that. I don't either. We need to upgrade as we go. We don't wanna get behind that 8 ball.
yeah, we don't wanna, I remember my first year here, I think the county spent $700 and some thousand in 1985 to buy new equipment, because they've waited, and that's back when things were a lot more reasonable. We don't wanna do that. It seems like a lot of money, but everything's pretty expensive nowadays.
These are planned purchases.
Horse and buggy to a powered vehicle when he started.
Go back to the horse and buggy.
I'll say go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. How you coming on your budget, Dave? Are you getting?
I've got some numbers in there,
Okay.
so I think I could go just about any time you'd wanna go.
Gene and I are gonna come and visit you sometime. We'll give you
Okay, yeah, there's some things I don't have some specifics, therefore they're provisional, but,
We'll keep in touch with you.
okay.
All righty, thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay, with that, we'll go now next to the item number 2 is the Carroll County Fair Board, fiscal 19 funding. Jim?
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Not too bad how you guys doing this morning.
Good.
I've got a couple more pages that I want to give you guys. These are a report that we didn't have yet from when we got your packets. And I want to get it current for you.
Thank you.
Ends are too rough.
I got an extra one of these.
Oh, okay.
Very good, thank you.
Once again, just in refreshing of the county fair, again, we had another, luckily, thanks to Mother Nature, another good fair again. Most of the fairs in the state did. There was just a few of them that battled a little bit of weather, but getting to look at, if we could quick, I'll do what I just handed out. And that's our, the impact report that's combined with all the county fairs once again, the state of Iowa, which is a requirement for us, that we have to, every county fair has to turn these statements in, as you guys well know. Enough of you've been here enough times listening to me jaw about it, but it's always, I feel, very important to just keep referring to it once again about how important the county fairs in the state of Iowa are to economics, because we're an agricultural driven state, and how the youth numbers, livestock exhibits, I mean, it's everything is still climbing, so we're still keeping the interest and building the interest back yet in the county fairs. It's exciting to be able to keep the education going in the right direction, you know, on the agricultural side, because I feel that's very important for the Midwest in order to stay kept up with all the industry that's going around us. So once again, it's mind-boggling numbers when you look at what, you know, impacts are from one small investment to what it returns back to each of the counties. I mean, the biggest thing is, like we talk about, is it's helping our 4-H'ers, our FFA'ers, you know, the youth of our counties be able to express their interest, their desires and hobbies that they have of being able to exhibit it, and which I feel is very important to keep the people informed about what's all going on in the livestock industry. You know, we all well know how many changes that have happened from the years back when we were showing them compared to what it is now. But to still keep the kids educated as to where that food comes from that they go to the grocery store to get, you know, it isn't like it's just always there, you know. So I feel that it's great to keep the county fair going. I know, I don't know if you guys realize, but we have seen, but as you can tell by what we have in the letter too, is it's our 100th county fair going to be this year of 2018. So we're trying to dress up more yet what's going on at the county fair for this year to kick this off, and it's exciting because it's also the 100th year for the extension. So they're celebrating 100 years of service too. this year. So we're hoping that between, you know, having those two types of honor, that we can have probably one of the best county fairs we've ever put together. So we've been gradually working on it. You know, our improvements we keep doing. We got our new gates ordered, coming in for our hog barn, so we can get that, because we're getting crunched there on room, and so we're making the pins a little bit smaller and adding pins. So it's gonna, I believe it figured out we were gonna come up with another 28 pins still in the same building. And so we're remanufacturing that structure. We've already got all the old gates tore out, and so we're getting ready for got the new gates ordered, and we're hoping that by the 1st of June we want them here so we can get them put in. So we're crunching.
And the new wash gate area.
Yeah, and we're gonna redo the wash rack too. It's in very dire need of being updated. It's starting to crack in a lot of places it shouldn't be cracked in, and so we're not getting the water where it should be going. So we're hoping to get that, our plan is that we've got is getting that all redone too, to make it handier for coming in. One of the things we introduced this year to the 4-H clubs is we're gonna have them each design a barn quilt to put up on the ends of our barns, because we've got 12 ends that we'd like to decorate. And I thought, what better way than to have each of these 4-H clubs come up with a design of theirs. We're gonna provide them with the material, the board and everything to make it on. They just gotta come up with the paint and the design, and then we're gonna do a people's choice for them to give awards to the top 3 then out of that. So I know the clubs that I've talked with so far are pretty excited about it, and looking into it and help dress it up for our 100th anniversary. Does anybody got any questions on anything? If I could possibly answer, or Heather answer them for you.
Well, it looks like your livestock exhibits are up considerably
Yeah.
from what they were a year
Yeah,
ago.
and we did last year put new sheep pens in.
Yeah.
And that helped considerably. It looked
Yeah,
really nice in there.
because we had to crunch there too, because the numbers were getting so big on us that we didn't have enough pins. So we crunched the pins down a foot there and to make it through with still being using the same structures, because our square footage is pretty tight for us as to what we can do. So we have to try and figure out how we can do it in the square footage that we've got, but yet accommodate everybody that's coming. And of course, we built, what was it, 22 condos for the rabbits, is what we called them, rabbit condos, that we built together ourselves and put in. And I think we only ended up, out of all the condos we built, I think there was only 2 that didn't have rabbits in it. So we were close on getting that. So if we have an increase, we'll be tight again there. But it's great that we're being able to keep the numbers growing, you know, in our county, and the interest.
Is your poultry recovered from the avian flu?
It came back.
It's coming back.
It's coming back, and
Good.
from the talk, it's gonna be bigger this year again
Good.
too.
The guy know that was a
Yeah.
big deal, and it really.
Yeah, that avian flu,
It crippled that. for
it
quite a
crippled
while.
it big
Yeah.
across the whole state. So, I know that, you know, showed that detriment of the number of exhibitors being able to have livestock, you know, because of that.
I see one of your comments in here was that you, due to the 4th of July, you weren't able to get a carnival this year.
Yep,
And
that's
you
correct.
hired an inflatable company.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
Didn't several years ago, did you use Bison inflatables?
yeah. But to have the same inflatables all the time, we still have them, but we wanted to have something different.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
more. I mean, we.
And we went more too, because of the fact of what we added to what these guys were able to offer. So we threw in laser tag and stuff like that to get, which, trying to find carnivals is the toughest thing in the whole state of Iowa. We found out this year at the state convention that 5 more carnivals have backed out of coming into the state of Iowa. Because the state of Iowa has the worst DOTs of any state in the USA. And they cannot meet the standards to come into this state. So they are done fighting it, they won't come in. They can travel all around the state, all the way around Iowa, but they can't come into Iowa. It's just mind-boggling for them. And so they've just thrown their hands up and said, enough, we're not gonna battle it anymore, you know? So it crunched down to, you know, less yet, you know, that are coming in. Trying to find one, you know, cost factor wise, there, you know, somebody goes, well, maybe we can find one of them cheaper. No, you can't. They're all pretty much at $20,000, you
I
know?
was just concerned, you still had the other inflatables yet.
Yeah.
How many are actually in the state of Iowa in those McDermott?
I think there's only 8 or 9 that are left in the state.
Well, that almost surprises me a little bit, I guess, that there's actually that many.
Yeah.
You know, you throw 99 counties
Yeah.
plus larger communities, fairs and things that.
Because the thing is those that have gotten them, have them, they don't let them go, you know?
They lock them up.
Yep, they lock them up for life, you know? And we were just fortunate that couple years that we were able to, we moved the fair up a week and put it on the 4th. Well, then when the 4th started landing
On like
Wednesday again, and then it's just put a damper on us again, trying to get with the extension coordinated to be able to do it over the 4th. And so we're back to where we were again. And that week, I think, that second week in July, if I didn't count this year, but last year, there were 39 county fairs that same weekend in the state.
Plus
So,
local events.
Yeah.
Which the Lakeview Water Carnival
Yeah.
always cuts into you.
Yeah.
Cuts your market.
But I mean, we still thought we had a very successful,
Yeah.
you know, attendance.
And actually, this carnival, we ended up spending quite a bit of money on our end to have them, but we charge like $20 for a wristband for the whole weekend. So, like if you bought it on a Friday, you could come back on Saturday and use it. Where the carnival company, it was like $15, $20 for 4 hours each day.
So we were still very reasonable
Yeah.
on what we
Yeah.
had on it, you know. I know for some people, it's mind-boggling to hear what the dollar amount takes to get anything in anymore,
Yeah.
you know? I mean, but you gotta understand, it's just where it's at.
That's where
you
the
know?
market is.
Yeah. I know that we initially sent up asking to stay the same, but we're kind of reneging a little bit. If we could, we're asking if we could get an increase. I did a little comparison after being at the state convention of the counties right around us, okay? So I took Audubon, Calhoun, Crawford, Greene, Guthrie, and Sac, which are all the ones that touch all around Carroll County. And so I did a comparison of where they're all at as to, and comparing to where we're at. Audubon County, 22,000, Calhoun County, 60,000, Crawford County, 20,000, Greene County, 24,000, Guthrie County, almost 30,000, Sac County, 37,500. And then I went 2 more steps in calculating population-wise. And by the census in 2015, you know, Audubon County was 5,700 people, Calhoun County was 9,800, Carroll County was 20,500, Crawford 17,000, Greene County 9,000, Guthrie County 10,600, and Sac County 10,000. So I guess when I look and doing in that calculation of, you know, say, cost factor input to county fairs of, you know, county funding. You know, we're at, ours figures out to 67 cents. And the next lowest was Crawford at $1.17. And the highest was Calhoun County at $6.11. You know, I guess in our thinking, you know, we were hoping maybe, if all possible, if we could get a $6,000 increase to put us up to 18, which still will put us still at the lowest in the 7 counties as far as support from the county level towards the county fair. I know, I'm pretty sure that all the other counties, you know, the fair is in the county seat town. I mean, that's just been our factor of one of the deals. But I guess I would just, we were thinking that in asking Wise that if it was possible that we could have a little bit of a, you know, an increased factor in calculation of our handlings of the people. You know, I feel that as far as attendance wise to the Carroll County Fair compared to the others, I'm not that well in knowing what SAC numbers have been, but I would say we rank probably number 2, if not almost number 1 in attendance that comes to a county fair attendance. So I mean, it's not that we're not well attended and that we serve an awful lot of people, because we do. I know, like our Saturday, once again, was with the figure 8 races, the parade, and the mud volleyball and all that going on, why we had over 3,000 people there on Saturday night again at our races. So
So your current funding's at 12,750.
right.
And you want to go to 18, or you want to go to 18,750?
Well, we were thinking 18,750.
$6,000
Yeah,
increase.
yeah.
Any other questions or comments for Jim or Heather? Okay, if not, thank you, Jim.
You bet.
Could
Thank
you,
you.
could you work that up and send that information to
Sure.
Courtney?
Yeah.
So she can distribute it?
You bet.
I'd be interested in seeing that.
Because that, with those numbers, it showed that the average was 29,418. And you can see on that, the one paper I handed out has what the statewide
Yeah.
is on here for county.
County,
Was 22,200?
No, that's the attendance.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure,
26,280, I think is.
yeah, I didn't highlight it, and I
It's
should
about,
have. Yeah, county aid, where it says county aid there, it's on the 4th column down, or 4th line down there. County aid average is 26,280.
Yeah, it's in Coon Rapids because of the 4-county fair years and years ago.
I'm not quite sure when they, you know, why when the fire happened that, you know, that they didn't have insurance on the fairgrounds up here, and why nobody ever stepped forward in the county up here at all, or at that time, but,
Were all 4 counties always involved in prior? They
Not
were-
that I know of, Rich. I
It
don't know
was
what it was
called the
like
Four
back in the
County-
thirties, for some
It was
reason I
called the
can't
Four
quite
County
remember,
Fair.
but,
Well, you're
yeah,
older
I don't
than I
know.
am, that's why I thought I'd ask.
I know that
I
when it,
remember the
when.
fair being up here.
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I remember
That'd be
always
like
called
in
the Four
there was a
County.
50
and-
Yeah.
there was a 50s yet.
And I don't know if there was four counties all participating at one time, or it was thought
Up
out
here,
as
I
a
have no
plan and
idea.
it
Down
never
there,
moved
I
forward.
think that they came up with it, but maybe it was called that. But I mean, back then it was all because of the four counties. I always interpreted it being because the four counties met in Coon Rapids, you know?
I just didn't know
So-
if it was a thought that never came to being, or was just a geographic term.
Yeah, but, no,
Because you do have participants from all four counties.
yeah.
Which, a lot of people do, I guess.
Yeah, when you're that close,
Yeah.
and you get a school district that's
Overlapping.
overlapping like Coon Rapids is, and then
Yeah.
it's,
It's a natural fit.
yeah, so.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, we'll get that information.
Okay,
Nope.
thanks.
Thank you
Okay.
guys.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, guys,
You
for your
bet.
time.
You bet.
Okay, do you want to get hold of Marilyn and do the quarterly report?
Do the comp board, well, Courtney's left.
What was Sherry asking for you?
7,500.
7,500 up.
It was 5,000 last year, 7,500 is what it is this year.
Courtney will work up a sheet and send it to us, I hope, what they're all was and asking.
Well, after today, all that's left is St. Anthony and Region 12, right?
Anthony didn't come in last year.
Yeah.
Let's see if they come in this year.
Yeah.
No, I don't think they did
Yeah.
Okay, with that, we'll go down to item number 8, is the recorder's quarterly report. Marilyn?
Good
Good morning, Marilyn.
Well, Marilyn?
Okay. Well, this is always our interesting months, November and December. So usually, sometimes the tax situation, the attorneys find out that something has to be changed, and we get a little busy in this month, especially in December. Used to be kind of, that time was a little slower, but that isn't that way anymore. We're very similar, we're a little less than last year, and where we're, the difference in the numbers is, with transfer tax, deeds, and mortgages, we're down maybe $1,000 total, down from last year. And that means each one of those transactions were the auditor's fees, and we maybe have 500 less deeds or mortgages. And also, we're down transfer tax $2,485, which means we had less sales, so it's all together, each of those tie together. But what's interesting is, which has our vitals, our vital records, which is our birth, death, and marriages, has gone up a little. And I think I can attribute that to across the hall, driver's license. Because we usually were about the same numbers, but we're up. Let's put it this way, it's enough that I noticed it in our numbers. So because we're across the hall from driver's license, if someone even is from another county and they're in a time frame from 1993 to the present, we can issue their birth certificates. And same thing with some of the marriage. We can issue their marriage licenses statewide, even if they're not in our county. There's a certain, but prior to that, if they weren't born in Carroll County, we can't do it. But what we can do is, if they don't need it, let's say today, if they've got a little bit of a time frame, we can electronically send that application to the state for them, so they don't have to go to another county. We can do that. And we had a situation the other day where a gentleman had a birth certificate that he thought was changed on a state level. He had 2 names changed. He had a court order,
But from the county, not our county, from another county, it didn't get sent to the state. So literally, he couldn't get his driver's license changed because it did not match his birth certificate. But we called down there and he did some overnight. And they called me the next day, so he sent it out, we sent the application, he literally sent it out, by mail, overnight mail. And we talked to them, and they called me the next day, and they had the application, and they were sending it out that day, his birth certificate with changes. So things like that we're seeing an increase in, which is good, because they don't have to come back, or we can get them, or they got their DD 214s, which is nice. Because it all, two things, with the DD 214s and their military and the driver's license, that all ties together. And if they don't have it on record, they get it to us, so we get it on record. So it is, and that helps them with the military. So it's kind of a nice feature that's happening with the driver's license that we can do. But that's just that part. And on the, so that's why there's a little bit of an increase in the vitals. And even on the state, we're down about, I looked at the numbers, and we're down, maybe 30,000. But I looked at it, and basically it's on sales tax. A lot of it's on sales tax. We just didn't have a lot of new ATVs, snows, ORVs, boats, things like that going through this quarter. So, and last year, we must have been a good year for something. I don't know, I haven't gone back to see what we sold, but the sales tax for them is down quite a bit. And also, if we're down on revenues and things like that, those numbers are gonna drop too, because they're not gonna get any additional share. So, it affects, when we're down, the state will be down too on numbers. That's basically all I have to, and we're done with the renewals on the ATVs and snows, and now they're delinquent as of the 2nd, so they gotta pay a $5 penalty. But they're pretty good. We usually send out notices, and, you know, they come in and get it taken care of, so. But that's the difference in where we're at as far as this quarter.
Any questions or comments for Madeline? If not, we're in order for a motion to approve the quarterly report.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Marilyn.
Perfect. Thanks, Marilyn.
You gotta stay on that, please.
Yeah. Okay, with that, we'll go down to item number 9 is the compensation board appointment. Gene?
Yeah, we have one appointment that we need to fill for the supervisors, and I will make a motion that we appoint John Brocklesby from Glidden, Iowa. He is accepted to take the position.
Okay, got a motion on the floor. We need a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, got a second for the appointment of John Brocklesby as the supervisor's appointment. And if there's no other discussion, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And as a reminder, we do have the comp board meeting tomorrow night at 6, correct?
Did you get John information on him?
I emailed it to him.
Okay, good.
Okay. Okay, and then with that, we'll go down to item number 10 is Roselle Township clerk and trustee appointment.
Clerk?
Clerk.
Clerk.
Get the clock with it today.
Okay. For Roselle Township Clerk, I will make a motion that we appoint Doug Fernity has accepted that he has accepted that position, or will accept that position. So I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to approve Doug Fernity for the clerk position. Any other discussion? If not, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. And now for trustees.
And then with trustee Dan Stern would like to take the trustee position, I will nominate him.
Dan who?
Dan Stern.
For myself.
He was the clerk, and he just wants to know ground.
I'll second my motion.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to appoint Dan Stern for the trustee position. Any other discussion? If not, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Jean.
I just want to
Jean?
clarify that Dan Sturm's filling the vacancy that was created in the trustee, and then Doug Fernending is filling the
Yes.
vacancy
Yeah.
created by Sturm,
Yeah.
the clerk, and so
Maybe
they'll
we should-
both be doing this for the remainder of those normal terms.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay, with that, we'll go down to item number 11 is the approved plats. We've got one in our packet. Let's see here.
Fixing a driveway.
Yep.
Make a motion to approve the plat.
Yeah, that is outside of Manning limits, evidently. Evidently, I looked
That's,
up.
I looked at that too, and it's,
Must just
I
be.
was surprised that that was outside the city limits.
Well, there's more than one here.
We got two plats.
both or one of them.
There's
The other
three,
one-
there's
We
three
got two-
plats.
Three plats.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, the one is up by, is Move It, that's just a retracement plat.
Right.
And the other one is an amended plat
Mhm.
on that blue.
Oh, and that blend.
Blend, yeah.
I guess I would adapt my motion to.
Richland, Easton, Ewald Township.
Change my motion to approve the plats.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
You just need a second?
We got.
I got a second.
Any other discussion? If not, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. That will go down to item number 12 is the evaluation report for 18-19. That's in our
You guys all
packet
get a
also.
chance to look this over? I did, I'm pretty sure I gave you guys, did I give, I don't know, last week was a long time ago. I gave you the sheet that looks like this?
Yes.
Yeah, yep.
Mhm.
Did I give you the sheet that,
This is what we got, right here.
Just to-
okay, perfect. I did give you all that. I couldn't remember if I didn't get that done until later or not. So, looks like overall, the valuation increased about 5.1%, 5.11, over the previous year. A lot of that can be contributed to the statewide equalization, where it automatically increased our commercial and residential property, which, of course, the county had no control over, but it benefits us on the valuation side. And I did, so we've got the rural values increased approximately 4.11%. Urban values increased 6.08%. Then I went ahead and I just kind of did a brief look at the differences between where the increases were. So that's the second comparison sheet I did here. So, you know, I saw that the ag buildings actually went down, and so did multi-residential. And you can see the residential increased significantly. There again, you have that statewide equalization, that is a lot of that. And then the commercial increased as well. Ag land went up a lot, you can see that. So overall, it's about $68.8 million increase in value. So.
Oh, okay, I do have a question
Mhm.
though. And I probably know the answer, just ain't thinking of it.
Okay.
We have, you got like the 1.39 or 1.32 up here. And when it comes down here, it's like 1.322 here. Why is there a difference?
They're different reports that I pull it from.
So there's some,
I'd say there's probably rounding issues. Those residential, when it breaks it down between the actual class, that's a totally different report
or
than
is
this
there, or is
one.
there like certain, with what you're doing, are you dropping some of the, like, maybe the, I don't know, some utilities or something?
There could be utilities, there could be railroads, there could be.
That's why,
not really
okay, that's what I
railroads.
figured it was.
But
I was-
there is, that's a different report, and I noticed that too. I can't really explain the differences other than
there's stuff that gets dropped off.
But
When
what
you,
we-
when you
what-
break it down by residential, ag land, ag buildings, commercial, industrial, multi-res, you're leaving out your utilities, your gas and electric. I know there's some more that I'm not thinking of, but yes. So there's some in here that I didn't account for because we don't really have any control over the gas and electric, and those are
That's
things.
what
that-
that's
Like the
I
cell
count.
towers and that are probably out of that too, probably, are they in that?
Depends on how they're classed. But I'd have to look at that. Like our cell tower, nothing, because we own it.
Right, sure,
Um,
with some of the outlying ones.
Yeah, it could be. I'd have to go and look. The wind turbines are in industrial,
Mhm.
so those are gonna be in your. So, overall, I always look, and I'm looking at this report now, because this is the one that everybody will use for their budgets. I look at column A. Those are the numbers I care about the most. So the total for the value for the county is 1,391,914,349. And then it gets broke out between rural and urban. So I guess the good news is our value went up. But I don't know that a lot of it was contributed to construction and things like that. Most of it's attributed to the statewide equalization.
Some of it is, if you look
Some-
back at what
I'm sure
Carroll's,
some of it
Carroll's
is.
too.
Carroll's report was this
Yeah.
morning of the building permit.
Yeah, I'd say some of it is, but when you go around and the equalization on residential is 7%, you increase everybody's residential value 7%, that really adds. And then the
Yeah.
commercial, I didn't look it up, I want to say it was 13, but Neil, do you remember what that was? The commercial, how much it went up? I was thinking it was significant too, so.
But did they do a commercial reassessment, whereas anything that was reassessed did not change?
No, it was across the board. Anything commercial went up, that percentage.
Even if it had been assessed?
Correct. Yeah, it was
Sure
it was
about that.
across the board.
What's gonna be interesting with this coming year is with state shortfalls, the rollbacks, there's gonna be some serious discussion there. And it's gonna be
How much
interesting.
we're gonna get reimbursed.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rollbacks are gonna be.
Yeah.
That's always a guess
Yeah.
when we do budgeting, so. But that's really all I have on the valuation report. Of course, we need that done, had to be filed by January 2nd. So, it was filed timely, it was just that I didn't have the numbers together to give to you guys last week, so.
Do you need a motion to approve that?
Yeah,
report?
we'll approve that report.
So moved.
Okay, got a motion on the floor, need a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, got a motion and a second to approve the evaluation report for 18-19. Any other discussion? If not, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That will go down to item number 13 is the manure management annual updates. We have two of those today. One is for Darlis Halber in section 7 of Lincoln Township in Audubon County. And that one, there are no changes. And then the second one is Scotty and Tisdale, section 23 of Richland Township, and that one they changed to the crop rotations. So that's all we have for the manure management plans. Should pass those down to Courtney. If there's nothing else, we'll go down to committee reports. Rich?
I did not have anything last week, and this week, all I have in front of me is the comp board tomorrow night at 6 o'clock.
Okay. Thank you.
And we're gonna, if I can hook up with somebody, we may try to do a budget thing.
Yeah.
If we can make it work.
Okay. Okay, nothing else? Thanks, Rich.
Yeah, I didn't really have anything, I'm still working on that, preparing for that street vacancy in Mount Carmel. We're trying to work through that. Otherwise, all I have is just the compensation board meeting tomorrow night and budget, pre-budget meetings this week, if we can get those done. That's it.
Okay, thanks, Dean.
I have no reports, although I do have the compensation board, as everyone does, went Tuesday evening. And I think we should give the chairman a clear direction if we can come across any consensus on what we'd like to have him give the compensation board. And of course, I'll be working with, hopefully get some budget stuff set up this week. I don't care
We
when.
can do
I-
it now. We can do it now. We can discuss it. You guys were willing to?
Sure.
Sure. So, I guess I just had a couple calls so far. Had one from Clay Wintermore here last Friday. I talked to him a little bit. And, his recommendation was in that 2.5 to 3%. What are you guys' thoughts?
I'll be honest with you, I was a little lower, I was in the 2 to 2.5. I was on the lower end of that spectrum.
I guess I'm right in there. The COLA is considerably higher this year than it has been.
What is a COLA?
2.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And it's, I think last year it was 1/10 of 1%, correct?
Yeah.
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 I thought it should correlate somewhat with COLA. 2%
Yeah,
is what I
yeah.
had for cost of living for
Yeah.
Social
You know,
Security.
Last year, we went, you know, we set it at what, 2.6?
2.6 it was last year.
With a COLA at what it was. So I don't know if that's any indication of where we need to follow that, or, and then a discussion has to be made, or
What was your
what.
thought?
I thought it should mirror the COLA, which is 2%.
2%. Gene?
Yeah, I was, actually, when he called me, caught me off guard. And
Me too.
I'm
Yeah.
in that 2, probably more than 2, I was on the lower end. I know that from my conversations up at Cherokee, there is a lot of concours that are a lot higher than that, and I was surprised.
You know, I heard comments from county.
I can't believe some of the figures I heard.
I heard one county north of here was at 4%.
Ida County?
What's that?
Ida County?
Sac.
Sac County.
Yeah.
That was a recommendation.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, ours was what, 5 last year?
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean,
We at the Rolling Hills, we heard all over the place.
Right. Everybody at Rolling Hills, whose comp board has met,
Mhm.
gave their comp board's rating. Of course, we haven't had ours yet.
Yeah.
But there's quite a variation among counties.
Yeah.
I say that up there at Cherokee, it run from, I think it's like 3.5 up to 6.
One thing in our defense, as far as supervisors, is being the 26th or so population, we're well below that on our pay scale, even for 5 county boards.
Yeah. Okay, they give you direction?
Yeah. Which you guys get
2
charged
to
with it
3.
or not.
2 to 3.
I would say, yeah, that's what I was
That's what I
saying.
got written down.
Okay, that's what, no,
Well, no,
that's kind of my
that's
thoughts.
two's the
is that
lowest
2
and
to
3 was the highest.
Give them a range.
And 3 was
Okay.
not you guys, it was Clay.
Yeah, yeah.
so.
Sure.
so when we meet for our pre-budget meetings, what are we using for our insurance figure?
I've got nothing, he's gonna be here next week. So, I mean, in the past, we've done 6%, we've done 10,
7%?
do somewhere in the
you mean
middle.
as far as
I mean,
insurance?
people have
Yeah.
asked me, and I said, I don't even
Yeah,
know,
that's-
because he hasn't
I
been
mean,
in
we
yet.
won't know that.
We don't know, I mean, that, so I
I
mean.
thought that they were supposed to have that earlier, so you do that for the budget.
This is the earliest he could get here, next week, so.
Our-
Oh, next week he will be here?
For
Yes.
our cost, the county's cost.
Our
Yeah,
cost.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell us by phone?
It's not, he's not gonna give me a
No, he
figure.
won't give you.
No.
Well, a lot of this doesn't come out until actually May.
May.
April or May.
May.
Now, I
So-
did see Crawford just went and they're asking $50 less for each employee for contribution on health insurance. Because they have such a high pool, they wanted to work it down a little bit.
We heard that comment at Northern, it's a one-time offer.
We've already done that, because we didn't increase what the recommended rate was.
Yeah, a lot of times we just don't go by the recommended rate.
We're still reaping that benefit.
Mhm.
As long as the balance stays good. I think if it
So
drops
Clark-
down too low, you might have. to-
Clark's gonna be here
Next week.
next Monday.
I'd
So-
say, if you stuck around the 6 to 7%, I think you'd be very close.
So
Just
he's-
based on past.
You
And
don't
I know
think- you
last
don't
year
think
was a
we
good
get-
year.
You don't think we'd have another one like last year?
No, because I know what the claims have been.
But that's what he's gonna come with, information on the claims. Okay.
That'll give us an idea.
Yeah.
And it's not, I mean, if you wanna tell people 6 to 7, and when he's here on Monday, he's saying, oh, it could be about 1, 2%,
it isn't much to call that department head and say, hey, change it to 2.
Bring it down.
It's just one line item in their budget. And if they, and I'll go off of what he tells me, so when they turn them into me, if it's at 6%, I'm gonna lower it to 2 anyway, so. Or if it was 2, that would be wonderful.
That's what I was gonna say.
But it isn't probably.
It's better to budget it high than budget it short and then have to come back and make it up.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we did last year.
Yeah. Okay, anything, Gene?
The only thing I did this last week was did the radio and the newspaper. This week I have CADC tomorrow afternoon, and then also the compensation board, and then also I have, evidently, I guess that's it. I was thinking of something else.
Okay.
And if we can get some budget meetings in.
Okay. Basically, all I had last week is basically just fielded some phone calls and emails regarding the recorder's appointment.
I didn't get any.
But you're lucky.
No, not a lot.
And then also I had somebody approach me about building a livestock building in the 2 mile zone of Carroll, and I talked with Carl and Perry Johnson and how to get that ball rolling. And it's just on the north edge of Carroll, so it's just in the process, so that will become, it won't come to us, it'll actually go to the city because it is in the 2 mile zone. And then this week, tonight I have Wesco board meeting, tomorrow night's comp board meeting, Thursday is Region 12, and then I'd like to try to get some budget meetings done this week if possible, if people get them ready. So we'll keep in touch with you guys and kind of go from there. As far as the agenda for next week, Courtney, what are we looking at?
I guess the recorder's
15th.
office.
Right?
Yeah, yep.
So we've got a bill day, and then Clark from Walmart will be here at 9:30. And as of now, that's all I have.
I guess one thing I would like to add is to discuss the recorders, either appointment or the special election. I'd like to put that on the agenda for next week and kind of keep that ball moving. Is there anything else anybody else can think of?
Are you ready for your budget?
No.
That answers that one for me.
That one's good. Huh?
I will be as soon as I get all the fire values out to the fire chiefs and some of the township guys.
We got,
They're needing that, so. Once I get that done, I was gonna work on mine. I'm hoping to have that done today, so.
I guess some of the comments that I'm getting from the department heads is too, is it'll depend a little bit on tomorrow night with the comp board too.
Yeah.
Something we're kind of setting for that.
Also, a little more tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, and as far as, a lot of times we say, well, where are the unions at? Where are the unions at? Well, nobody knows, correct?
Mhm.
Because, right.
Because I looked at all the union contracts and they all expire at the end of June, so
Mhm.
you guys are gonna be busy.
Clay asked me a question, where the union's at.
Yeah.
So I couldn't remember if it expired yet. If it all expired or not, they'll have just 1-year agreements.
Yeah.
One good thing is, in the past, it's been said, you're going off of what the union negotiated for other employees, but that won't be the case this year.
That won't
This
be
year
the
it's gonna work
case
the
this
other way
year.
around this
Yeah.
year.
I think so.
That's a rebuttal to Clay.
That'll boost morale a little bit, maybe, so.
Yeah. So, okay, is there anything else? Any comments from those in attendance? Okay, if not, we're in order for a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Second.
Okay,
Third.
Cal.
Okay, who had that?
First, second, third.
Close. Third.